Thanks to Luke Doherty for requesting this video, and also happy birthday.
When will Disney and Pixar studios just merge already? They are only separate because they both love logos.
I would love it if they didn't do that. I mean, Disney has already been messing with Pixar by influencing them enough to make sequels to movies that don't need one. Heck, this movie is getting a sequel, and I don't see how that can work.
Also, I don't care if it's two of the most successful studios of all time, that's 44 seconds of two logos.
Okay, Jeremy, I already got the point with the logos in the previous sin, and now you're double dipping. It's already bad enough that we have to listen to you sin logos for one sin, but twice? Too much, man.
Sometimes I think I'm cursed.
And a narration.
Yeah, and I guess you'd prefer the movie show us what Miguel's about to explain without narration? How would that work? I feel like that would have been just a really long flashback so audiences fully get what's going on. There's a reason movies use narration at the beginning. They help to condense backstory if there is any that the audience needs to know.
And one day, he left with his guitar and never returned.
The opening narrow exposition of this movie is so Beauty and the Beast that I'm now half expecting at least one character to end up with Stockholm Syndrome.
Subscribing to the dumb Stockholm Syndrome theories around Beauty and the Beast. Also arbitrary movie reference.
You know, the last time I was in a room with a woman this old, a wrestling mask, and feathers? Well, I've already said too much.
Jeremy says something random cliche.
Abuelita runs our house just like Mama Imelda did.
I'm not sure hatred of music could or would be passed down this many generations. No one in this family ever stopped to ask if maybe the real villain in that story they tell every year is the Music Man and not music itself?
There has to be a first for everything, right? And Miguel is the first. Besides, the only one who's really enforcing this no music rule is Abuelita, Coco's daughter, and Imelda's granddaughter. It's still relatively recent for her, and I don't doubt Imelda convinced her pretty easily that Hector was the devil. Okay, maybe using that word is an exaggeration, but you know what I mean.
The inside jokes in these Pixar movies and movies in general are becoming distracting.
Sinning Pixar's Easter eggs.
No music! No music! No music!
This really is just the Mexican animated version of Footloose, right?
Arbitrary movie reference.
I am not like the rest of my family.
Ratatouille, Brave, Moana, The Good Dinosaur, Frozen, Planes, Zootopia. Wouldn't it be weird to see a Disney Pixar movie about a protagonist that was exactly like their family and following all the rules and was still a compelling character?
I'll give you Ratatouille, Brave, Moana, and Zootopia, but the rest are questionable. Granted, I haven't seen A Good Dinosaur in a while, but I remember Arlo in that movie wanting to be exactly like his father, which is part of what made his death in that film heartbreaking. Planes doesn't make sense to mention considering we never meet Dusty Cropper's family, and I'm giving you an extra sin for making me reveal that I've seen Planes enough times to remember that. But Frozen is by far the weirdest example to me. I don't think you're talking about Anna, so you can only be referring to Elsa, and how is she like Miguel? She had ice powers that scared her half to death, and her parents still cared enough about her to try and help her control them. Like, didn't you sin Frozen?
The inside jokes in these Pixar movies and movies in general are becoming distracting.
Sinning Pixar's Easter eggs.
I know this is a cartoon, but the candles and flowers situation here is making me anxious. Not to mention all that fruit next to the candles. Who wants warm, raw fruit? And ordinarily I would approve of the booze, but again, fire!
Now keep in mind when I say this that I'm not an expert on Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos. I really should have practiced saying that. Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos. That is such a mouthful. Now keep in mind when I say this, I'm not an expert on Dia de los Muertos, but from my research, it looks like this is pretty common. Ofrendas do have lots of candles, and they have a purpose too. They are meant to help guide souls of the dead to the land of the living.
Dia de los Muertos is the one night of the year our ancestors can come visit us. We've put their photos on the ofrenda so their spirits can cross over.
Expositional lecturing.
Yeah, and you have to appreciate that. The movie is telling us what the Day of the Dead is all about and why Miguel has to care about it instead of abandoning it to play his guitar. That's part of the message the film is trying to convey. That family comes first.
I feel like I've seen this idiot dog character played this same way in at least 3 previous Disney movies.
And I feel like I've seen you say Prometheus' School of Running Away from Things in at least 3 previous CinemaSins videos.
This kid's Ernesto shrine is kind of sweet, and it shows he really does get what the Day of the Dead is all about, just with his personal hero as opposed to family. But I still can't remove a sin. The fire safety ignorance is a much bigger generational problem for this family than their hatred of music.
Or it's a tradition for Mexicans when they celebrate this holiday. I mean, come on, Jeremy. If you're going to do a movie about a holiday you're not familiar with, the least you could do is ask Google how things are done.
Mama Coco's father was Ernesto de la Cruz!
What?
Sure, this is exciting information, but why does Miguel think that this changes anything? He already knew that Mama Coco's father was a musician, right? So why is he emboldened to spill all this to his family?
Because Ernesto is a celebrity and supposedly the greatest musician of all time. And while I concur that it doesn't really change much, Miguel's a kid and he idolizes him. I don't doubt he would think this would change everything.
Kurt wrestling.
Is that a Guardians 2 reference? That's the only one I can guess, and even if it's not, it has to be something else I don't get. So, arbitrary reference to whatever.
I don't want to be in this family!
Miguel!
Well, I yelled his name a couple times. That's probably enough to convince him to come back. No need to chase after him or anything.
But they do chase after him. They were literally looking for him when Miguel steals Hector's guitar.
How is the guitar not crushed along with Ernesto by that Tim Burton's Batman bell?
Is that seriously a real question? We saw Ernesto give this guitar to someone before the bell killed him. Here, let me prove it.
Until you're in my arms again.
Granted, we're about to experience spirits and magic and supernatural shit, but that guitar being in tune is going to end up being the number one thing that bugs me about this movie.
Acknowledges why this sin is kind of stupid and still makes it anyway.
Also, Coco and the Six Strings.
Also arbitrary movie reference.
The guitar!
What? Were there people who heard a strum drawn rapidly here with flashlights?
No, they just now noticed that the guitar wasn't hanging above the gravestone where it should be.
Ah, I see Heaven was designed by Dr. Seuss.
Sending this awesome shot.
If the border agents know that the bridge won't allow anyone to cross over, why do they even bother trying to stop Hector?
Probably because it's their job to make sure his picture is on an ofrenda. Also, you said anyone, but that only refers to those people whose picture isn't there, which includes Hector.
Get your family's blessing and everything should go back to normal. But you gotta do it by sunrise.
Who's making up the rules on all this
Oh boy, here we go again. Jeremy always does this. Whenever there's magic in a movie, he questions why it works the way it does. There's no answer that'll satisfy him, it's just how the screenwriters chose to write it. I mean, why can Beetlejuice only appear when you say his name 3 times? That's an arbitrary rule, isn't it? But that's just how the magic works, because that's what the screenwriters decided. You don't hear anyone questioning that, do you?
Your hand!
His finger is Back to the Futuring!
You and I remember Back to the Future very differently.
Should we tell him there are no restrooms in the land of the dead?
There are no restrooms, but there are pet allergies.
Yes.
I should lock you up for the rest of the holiday, but my shift's almost up, so I'm letting you off with a warning.
So, is there law and order in the land of the dead all the time, or just during the Day of the Dead? And regardless, what's the judiciary system based on? Do they use the same laws as the living? If so, what replaces the death penalty for particularly egregious acts?
I would assume they don't have death penalties and just imprison those kinds of people. That's probably what happened with Ernesto after he attempted to kill Miguel.
Nice gag, solid joke. Why does he even have eyeballs?
That's the biggest question you have? And not the fact that these skeletons are alive, walking, talking, and just generally acting like living people? Why is that where you draw the line?
Seriously, they should have given this dog a story credit.
Well, considering Dante is a spirit guide, and this sin is pretty egregious too, since you just demonstrated you know what that is 2 sins ago.
Sure, her spirit guide is a horned panther dragon. Okay. But they said earlier the spirit guides help the spirits find their way, not help find their missing living descendants who are escaping in Deadland. Why does a spirit guide even have any human-finding talents anyway?
Ask him how he died. He choked on some chorizo!
This land of the dead still celebrates the rich and famous from life, like Ernesto and his tower party going on right now. But this place also bullies and mocks people who choke to death in life. And all I can think about now here is where exactly Jimi Hendrix would land on the social scale here.
Okay, good to know that you're wondering that. Now, what's the sin?
If you really want to get to Ernesto, there is that music competition at the Plaza de la Cruz. Winner gets to play at his party.
Not only is everything in this room expositional fodder for Miguel's journey, there's an extremely convenient music festival that would allow him to meet De La Cruz. Also, this is the second major music competition in this movie, and while it's not the movie's fault, the Pitch Perfect series has really worn me out on that kind of thing as a plot device.
Says it's not the movie's fault, yet still gives the movie a sin.
And her knuckles they drag on the floor.
Those aren't the words.
Are children present?
Classy, Pixar. This is one of those jokes for the parents studios like to sneak into kids' movies, but in this case, the kids will actually get the joke, which is concerning.
Okay, but I'm sitting you for calling this a kids movie because there's a difference between a movie being made for kids and movies that were made for families. Coco is clearly the latter.
Gracias.
Chicharron waits to Yoda until the exact moment Hector and Miguel show up, just so Hector can explain how this works.
Narration.
Shouldn't the tequila be running through Hector's skeleton and hitting the floor? I never thought I'd say this, but Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean is a more believable dead guy.
It's almost like Pirates of the Caribbean and Coco are two different movies with two different sets of rules. Also, how many arbitrary movie references are in this video?
Wait, what happened?
He's been forgotten.
Okay, so he's living in a hammock in this part of the Deadland for those who never get their picture put up during Day of the Dead. Fine. But now that he's been entirely forgotten, he disintegrates? So many questions, but chief among them, who the was thinking about this guy the last couple decades but not putting his picture up? Because that guy is a douche.
Yeah, there's probably someone who didn't like him when he was still alive. No one said he had to like the person for him to still be around in the land of the dead.
When there's no one left in the living world who remembers you, you disappear from this world. We call it the final death.
Cool. And then what happens after Final Death? Final Death Land? How many layers are there?
No one knows. Miguel even asks Hector where they go, and he says exactly that. Maybe they die for good, and there's no second afterlife. That's what I assume, at least.
Our memories, they have to be passed down by those who knew us in life.
Well, I find that to be some bullshit. My memories aren't good enough or powerful enough unless I've talked about them ad nauseum around enough friends that one of them still remembers the stories. Also, this movie that is clearly pro-family, fine, that is cool, is so pro-family they risk alienating people who don't have a lot of siblings or those that choose not to have children. A minority, yes, I'm just saying movie is outright suggesting I should have kids and tell them all my stories. And if I'm honest, kids give me panic attacks, but I still have good stories.
And they never said that you need to have kids so you'll be remembered. As long as there are people you know that will remember you, you'll be fine.
Let's talk about how the Land of the Dead, but not Final Dead, has electricity.
And then he doesn't talk about it. Granted, that was pretty funny, but he's still questioning the rules in this world, which is something I take issue with.
Make me un poco loco, un poquitito loco.
Awesome! I legit applaud this movie for having Miguel kick f***ing ass in his first performance. I get it, and I love it. But when he spin dances 6 feet left of the mic, his voice continues being projected as though he were still in front of the mic. And I'm sorry, I can't let that shit slide. You bothered to put a microphone in Deadland, f***ing carry that shit through, movie.
Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
Flying magical beast combination somehow can't get through a narrow staircase in the Land of the Dead.
Jeremy thinks this claim makes any sense at all.
I'm honestly clueless on the rules of this movie, and that's a problem worth mentioning, even though the average viewer glosses over it.
Exactly. The average viewer glosses over it. These movies are made for average people who don't think about how magic works like you people.
It is I, Frida Kahlo.
It is an honor, señora.
Gracias.
This works. Also, how did Hector get the dress back from security?
He didn't. He just got another one from the rehearsal building.
I am sorry to see you go, Miguel.
It's at this point that movie prematurely gives the twist away, considering there's 30 minutes of runtime left, and there's no way this will actually work.
You're implying that you saw the twist of Ernesto being the villain coming? Yeah, no. Given your track record, I doubt that.
If you murder a living human kid in the Land of the Dead, does he die or what? He never died the first time, so he can't die a final death here. Which means that best case scenario, he just comes back here as a proper skeleton, no?
You said all of that as if Ernesto was trying to kill Miguel. No, he wasn't. He knows that he'll turn to a skeleton when his time runs out. He just wants to imprison him so he doesn't tell everyone that he stole the songs from Hector and murdered him.
I wish I could tell her that her papa was trying to come home.
Hector plays the pronoun game with Coco just so we can wring a little more tension out of this reveal.
Why would you expect Hector to just bring up Coco's name like that? He doesn't know that he and Miguel are related. So from his perspective, why would it be something to mention immediately?
Even after the realization that they're related and can easily rectify both of their situations by finding one of those plentiful petals and getting Hector's blessing, these assholes sit around this cave instead of searching for a way out.
What way out is there?
You are a real spirit guide.
Why was he so stupid and normal looking and stupid then? God, I hate this dog.
Actually, if you pay attention, you notice that every time Dante runs off and Miguel chases him, he takes him to a spot that is crucial to the plot. You even said that he deserves a story credit earlier, and that's why. So he isn't stupid like you think.
Does everything here have to be skull-shaped?
Yes.
He left this family.
Tried to go home to you and Coco, but De La Cruz murdered him.
It's true.
God damn it, then why didn't you find a way to tell this to Imelda the whole time that you were in the Land of the Dead? This entire movie could have been solved with simple communication.
You cannot be serious right now. Yes, Hector could have told her that he wanted to come back, but she wouldn't have believed him. Not to mention, he didn't know that Ernesto killed him. So what do you mean he could have told Imelda that?
You will return home. No more music.
Family comes first.
What?
It's almost like Miguel just went through a character arc where he realized family is more important than music or something.
How did you?
And that's for trying to murder my grandson.
Not only is this a terrible way to convince Ernesto to hand over the photograph, technically Miguel is Imelda's great-great-grandson, so everything about this scene is kind of wrong.
I'm pretty sure Imelda is just hitting him for revenge after he murdered her husband, and also for the fact that he attempted to kill Miguel.
Miguel, stop!
Damn it, Dad's classic move of ordering the kid to stop but not pursuing him is still not working. Don't know what keeps going wrong.
Yeah, but the dad does chase after him, which is why he was outside Coco's room when Miguel went in.
Please. If you forget him, he'll be gone. Forever.
Ah, Eternal Sunshine! I knew this movie was basically an amalgamation of 5 other movies, and until now I only knew 4 of them. Back to the Future, Crossroads, Heaven Can Wait, The Passion of the Christ, obviously, and finally, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Glad that's solved.
And a few more arbitrary movie references for good measure. But how is this film anything like Passion of the Christ?
Remember me.
I should remove a sin for this scene being so emotionally powerful, but since I can't see what I'm writing while ugly crying, I'll just let the sin counter do what it wants.
Ah, and hopefully the sin counter intends to do the right thing and remove a sin, right? Right?
Wanna see me?
Make a good movie that has an absolute tearjerker of an ending?
You wanna see me do it again?